You know who loves Izotope? This guy. Everyone here at Ruinous Media can't get enough of Izotope's intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. This year, make a resolution to yourself to say goodbye to bad audio and hello to super clear, wide, dynamic, clean audio using Izotope RX11 and the new Ozone 12. Master every track's potential with their complete 20-tool suite. Go to izotope.com and use code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. And go to izotope.com. That spelling is izotope.com. I'd like to welcome our newest sponsor, Schecter Guitars. This holiday season, go over to schecterguitars.com and see what high-quality goodies they have waiting there for you. Premium feel and unbeatable price. See why guitarists like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse, Robert Smith from The Cure, and Ernie C. from Body Count all love Schecter Guitars. A wide variety of styles and builds with high-end components and affordable prices for touring guitarists. Built to last. Go treat yourself and try something new you've always wanted to check out. Schecter Guitars has it all. Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. What's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Hyphenate Halftime. This is me, your host, Randy Randall. This is our show for Monday, March 23rd. Let's call it that. And with me, as always, my man on the spot for everything Home Depot related, Mr. Aaron Farley. How do you do today, Mr. Aaron Farley?
Please, I don't need a pop filter.
We were just discussing pop filters. The folks at Heel Microphones were so nice to send me a new microphone, but I've noticed the last intro I did, it's a little poppy. So I put this new pop filter on my microphone, and I think it helps. I don't know. You let me know. Write me in hyphenate@gmail.com. Let me know if my P's are popping.
I would say that your mic sounds really good when you're not
talking
directly into it. When you're
off axis a little bit like
past
this.
it.
There we go.
Yeah,
all right.
Sounds great.
Okay,
sounds awesome.
But if I get right up on it, it's a little too.
Hey, it's Wolfman Jack. What's Remember when Wolfman Jack was a thing?
Totally, Wolfman Jack was definitely.
He became what's his story? He was like a big radio DJ forever, right? But then I want to say in the 80s or the 90s, he became like a real person, like in front of the camera guy.
A Hollywood Squares guest or something, some kind of personality. He'd be on Hollywood Squares with Elvira and Pee Wee Herman.
Man, maybe. Back in the good old days, I feel like all you had, it was definitely like when the entertainment business was getting big and you had you have TV
Alf,
and everything.
Spuds McKenzie, Wolfman Jack, Elvira.
You just, like, if you had a shtick, it definitely was like probably from the Borscht Belt, like whatever those are. Like you have those guys.
Well, it's Jackie Mason. Jackie Mason.
You'd tell the same jokes for like 15 years and you do the same tour, and you didn't have to do new material. You just had so my wife, you had, and you just, if you had the shtick, you were good. Like they found something to like sink their teeth into. You'd be like, yep, no, you're actually going to be famous forever. Tiny Tim, you're going to be famous forever.
Well, I think
nobody's even going to know you started as like the ukulele guy with the funny song.
That's all.
You're just going to be Tiny Tim.
Well, I think it was a bit of virality, water cooler based humor before the internet, before social media. I think producers and people had an eye for that kind of thing of just weird, the Whack Pack. Howard Stern always had his people.
Yeah,
there'd been a lot of people like that. I just don't think, I mean, now on social media, I think people just burn through that. 15 minutes of fame goes a little bit faster. 15 seconds of fame. You know, you have your Huck to a girl. Right now, Afro Man is enjoying the world's,
Who
attention.
knew that was going to be our biggest political rapper of the last 15 years?
Amazing.
He just came into it and like, this is what we all needed right now with the American flag suit and oh my God.
Yeah. But I think, but again, it's not accidental. I think he's very much, it's a thought out idea for him specifically, which is good.
Smart guy.
Yeah. He's doing
Smart guy.
Yeah.
Because even all of that stuff, like to sit there and have all
Lemon
the cameras
pound cake.
and have all the oh my God. And then the songs afterwards, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much, America. We're really milking this like American freedom thing.
I think it's great.
We got to get back to the.
Well, no, I think it's
I love it.
I think his is, it goes all ways, because there was some clip I saw that was of him just saying, is it fair? Are you allowed to do this? The prosecution was asking him or someone's asking him and he's like, yeah, I think I'm downright pleasant. This is a very nice thing for me to do. Like, you guys came into my house
100%.
and kicked my door down and ripped my stuff up and ransacked my house. I didn't go over there and do that to your house. I went out in my backyard and kicked a can, made up some songs, and released some very pleasant music about this whole thing. It was very
funny.
This was a great reaction. I would be applauding me for being as nice as I have been about all this stuff. I wouldn't be up here on the stand crying that I've ruined your life. Look what you did to me.
Yeah.
I have it all on camera. You came into my house and put yourself on my camera.
Yeah,
and now you're
stole
mad.
my stuff.
You're mad that I'm
stole
putting
my stuff.
that video out online.
And I want to reiterate that what I mean is too much freedom. It's like the police. Like they think that they have they think they have like, hey, we have the freedom to do all this stuff. And then when this guy makes a song, they're like, no, this is too much freedom. Too much freedom here. You can't just sing us. You can't make fun of me. I can steal your stuff.
But there's nothing you can. I'm the police.
Like when you come back, like,
recourse. Yeah.
I'm a human being, you guys.
Do you understand what it's like? Yeah.
The pearl clutching of the police, or even like when the right-wing media people are like, oh my God, how could you say that about me? Guys, I have an opinion. What, we're not allowed to have opinions anymore?
That's exactly what this is. I have an opinion also.
You are allowed to have an opinion. I'm also allowed to tell you your opinion is horrible and also to have a better opinion.
Yeah.
And then I'm also allowed to make fun of you until it feels really, really personal and horrible. Yeah. And that's okay too, until people send hundreds of thousands of pound cakes to your address or whatever happened with that. And I'm like, and you're going to cry over this? Like, the police are crying over getting cakes sent to their house. Like, this should be part of the job. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You can do this.
I saw another commenter or, another video, someone posted about it, and they were just saying that, if this police force was known for being a pillar of the community and had done so many great things for the community and were out there, if they were known as being upstanding, morally high-grounded citizens who really, did a lot for this, chances are this wouldn't have hit as hard as it particularly did in this particular town, where everybody would be excited to have a reason to pile on them. That you have to look at, pre-existing causes that he may have really hit, a particular place in time where maybe these police would require, people, the community was looking for something to go after them for anyway, that had been one-sided for too long,
Well, they also wouldn't have done what they had.
Of course. Did. Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the one thing you get on video.
Like if they were upstanding police and stuff and they're like, why are you always making fun of the police? Like, no. People love it when the police come to help people and to like keep people from getting hurt by violent people. And
if you're invading people's houses without cause or without
absolutely
anything happening for no reason,
turning off their video cameras before you steal all their stuff, I feel like that's a problem
thing. Well, this is good. We're kicking off our our episode with this
producer month.
Yeah, where we're at, we're halfway through Mixmaster March. We last week's guest was Phillip Broussard Jr. It was great to talk with him. I think it's one of the longer episodes I've ever had. I think I looked at it, I had to double check it afterwards. I'm like, wait, this is almost 2 hours long, but it was great. I think we talked about it. Phil was like, you're going to edit all that stuff out. I'm like, no, it's all good. all good stuff in here. Nothing
Yeah.
to edit out.
He had an amazing life. I love the
Yeah.
fact that it was so linear, and maybe this speaks to maybe it speaks to his like why he's so good at being an engineer producer is that everything was like there. He had the moments, he had the years, he told the story, he had the people. He was like, there were a lot of ups and downs. And yeah, you're right. It took me like 2 drives. I was like, wow, it usually takes me 1 drive.
We're one drive podcast for most of the time. I definitely listen to some long. I listen to some long podcasts in my collection of weekly podcasts. Blink Check being the one that you just never know. Like, is this 2+ hours? It's almost 3 hours. What are they going to do here?
Yeah.
But ours, I like, we keep them about that hour, but everything was just rolling and just going and flowing. I didn't even notice the time passing by with Phillip.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
He had an amazing story. And I think what the cool thing and my wife and I talk about this all the time with the fact that it was kind of expected back in the old days when you were younger that you did a lot of really tough work for free or very cheap to learn things, that there was like an internship, but the internship wasn't just like, oh, you're just going to do a bunch of crappy stuff. There was actually like internships, like in photography, you took like a 4th position, you took like a 4th assistant role, and maybe you got your gas paid for and but it was more of like, no. If you can't do this for free for like a little while and while you're learning, like this is your school. Like, you're not going to learn this actually in college, where even if you get a photo degree or if you get a recording degree or whatever, this is the stuff that you need to learn before you decide that this is for you, because you're going to get put through the ringer and you're going to either love it or you're going to go, whoa. No one told me about this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that there is that. And if you couldn't hack that part, either you were great and very resourceful and you found a job doing the thing you love, or, whatever. But there was a lot of like, nope, this is going to take a little while, and you're young and you can deal with it, and you can do some 18-hour days multiple times for like $50 maybe. or like even when I was doing PA work and you were like the bottom of the bottom PA, and you'd get like, they had to pay you something because you were on a crew, but it was like $50 or $70 or something, but there's no overtime, no anything. And we'd work like a 19-hour days, 2 19-hour days in a row. And they had like the scam that it wasn't even the scam, because they would do it. They would tell you what to do, but it was like, no. You go and you say, you need to fill up the van. They would just send you to fill up the van with gas, and they'd give you $100 bill. And they're like, get a receipt. So you get the $100 bill receipt, and then you get back and the gas only needed like $45 and you pocket the rest.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
And that was like the way that the production company was like, we know you're not getting paid overtime. You get to go fill up the van today. And you get the extra 60, like it's more than you're making in the whole day. You're getting,
because you're doing good. It's not a guarantee it's going to happen, but if they see you busting your ass,
and there was always the little things of like, okay, no, here's your little bonus for the day, and it'd be like a $20 thing or a $30.
That's cool. And you're eating. They got catering there. You're grazing on a craft service,
and you're young,
but you're networking too. So it's the kind of thing where you're meeting everybody in that crew, and if you get in good and they need you for the next one, because that was part of the whole deal. It was all the network and it was all the hang, and they didn't want to hire you necessarily because you were good, but they hired you because you could hang. You know what I mean? And you were good, and you were good to be around and good people, and you don't know that until you spend 8 hours or 12 hours with somebody on an overnight shoot, and you see, they don't give you too much responsibility, because if you flame out, if they don't really know you, but you got to be recommended, and it's all a handshake, and that was the hard thing was always to break into these kind of productions, because everybody knew everybody, and you had to know somebody to get the gig. And so the only way to get in as the new guy was to have the no responsibility, running to get coffees, and you do that for months, years, and then you're promoted. No, I mean, we have a common friend, Sippy, went from being a PA on a Coen Brothers film in Mississippi to getting in with a production team and coming out to LA and making a career in movies. But he was just a guy,
That's
just a
who got me on
skateboarder.
my production work.
There we go. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was just a kid, just a guy.
Videos.
in Mississippi, just hanging out.
Yeah.
He
Sippy's
didn't have
amazing.
anything. Yeah, he's got a great. We should have him on here. That'd be fun. We could both interview him. I feel like we probably know him from two.
You should. He just
directions.
lot back to Mississippi.
Oh shit. Okay, maybe
he just moved back to Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's doing work there. I think he's doing a lot of stuff. He's also like he works. So yeah, he also works out of state. Like when he gets a job, he'll be in Montana for like 3 months.
Oh, sure.
He's a set painter.
That was
and so much of that was like, but yeah, no. And I learned all that from him. He's like, hey, I got this job that it's a fourth PA. I know you're trying to be a photographer, but you want to come on a music video set for 3 days and like haul medical equipment into the ocean for a photo shoot and then almost die. Like almost like an 80-year-old lady almost gets completely buried in sand by a wave during the video. Oh yeah. No, there's no like, it's crazy. And you're like, you need people on those sets that are going to be able to get through all of that. And also if someone shows up for months at a time for little to no money, just because they're learning and they're trying to blah, blah, blah. When you give them money, they're not leaving.
Yeah.
Like they're not, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I did all this for free for a long time. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're going to give you, I mean, back then it was like, if you got like $100 a day, you were rolling.
Sure. Yeah.
I think
and LA used to be filled with those kind of jobs. I don't know what it's like now. And I don't think it's quite as lucrative. I just think there's not as much stuff shooting here, but that was our whole, our whole social scene was people just hustling for random day gigs or week gigs somewhere, wardrobe assistant, doing returns on wardrobe buys and just driving around all day long with an envelope of receipts, trying to figure out what goes back to Macy's, returning $4,000 worth of, t-shirts and dresses and pants to Macy's. And they're not happy to see you coming in.
Ever. Did you do that?
Dean did it. I did it for one day, filling in for Dean, for Kathy Cooper, who was the coolest lady in the planet. Still is the coolest lady. But it was, it was a rough gig. But at the same time, you got paid whatever it was, $100, $200 cash at the end of the day. You're like, that was cool. That was fun. I just drove around all day.
Yeah. I used to assist a food stylist, and you would have a truckload of like plates and silverware and stuff from Target, and then also like the fancier stuff from wherever you get like
Williams Sonoma,
Beyond, and then whatever, like Williams Sonoma. And you'd have to know, like, all of them kind of had a buyback percentage, but then if you knew the person that was behind the thing, sometimes you could get a deal, and you had to sweet talk people. And I was not great at that, but I felt so uncomfortable. I'm like, I know this is $4,500 worth of clothes, but I really need to return it.
Yeah. Working in retail anywhere.
But then you're in LA also, and everybody knows that. So,
right. That's what I was saying.
Like if you restocking fee and you're good.
If you worked retail anywhere in the LA area in the early 2000s, you knew there was a kid coming in who looked like Johnny Knoxville with a big bag. Oh no, he's gonna fuck my next hour up. Okay. That's hilarious.
I showered 3 days ago. Here's all your stuff.
Yeah. Your stuff back. Like you didn't buy it. Do you have the credit card that was bought with? Yeah, hold on. It's right here. Like this is an Amex for someone who's not you. Well, here's their driver's license too. They're a producer on this motion picture.
Yeah.
Like, it'd
they
be really
trust
cool.
me with their credit card and driver's license.
Yeah. And you, meanwhile, your car is filled with dents. You're like gas leaking out of it. You don't know what you're doing.
Well, and the crazy thing about LA and all the assisting stuff too is that, because I was a photo assistant for a long time. I mean, at least like full-time kind of photo assistant PA, and then like a retouching for 3 years, 4 years. And you just get the call from someone like, hey, I got a gig. This guy's flying in from St. Louis. You're going to be second assistant. Can you go pick up the grip truck and all the equipment from Sammy's and meet us in Malibu at 4:30 in the morning for a photo shoot, for the morning shoot tomorrow. And then we're going to end in the Santa Monica Mountains at this time. And then there's a restaurant shoot at night. And do you have your, and you're like, okay,
sounds good. I'll be there.
Yep. I'm 24 years old.
I got
and that sounds great. You're going to trust me with like
giant grip truck,
$150,000 worth of gear, and to a guy I've never met, but we're there,
Yeah.
and then you show up and it's just insanity, but it was so fun. It's
oh my
like,
God.
You're sitting there and you're like, wow, this guy's like a big MMA fighter, or like, oh, we're shooting basketball players today, or we're going to get in a truck and go, like once was God, where were we in Texas? No, Florida. We flew to Florida to shoot all of these football players, and they were going back for the summer to do kids summer camps
Oh,
for the place where they grew up. And so you're sitting in this van, and the van driver was amazing, because all these guys are complaining, and he kept looking back and he's like, aren't you guys just a bunch of millionaires? What are you complaining about? This is crazy. I was complaining about your watches, complaining about your shoes, like super funny. But you just get to hang out with those dudes, and then they're like doing these camps for kids and all this stuff, and you're like, this is crazy. I never even traveled anywhere past like one state away from my house until I was 23. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, well, yeah, Phillip had lots of those great stories. I mean, interning at was it Kingswell? Is that the name of it? I was getting confused with King Size. Daniel Lenoir down in New Orleans. Yeah, I had to look up the studio when we were talking about it. I was like, hold on, there's a whole story about it. It was a beautiful like French Quarter home, like old kind of Victorian or whatever the French sort of style with a with like a fountain in the middle of it and kind of courtyard, and just a beautiful haunted looking, kind of like mansion down in New Orleans. And they did so many, there was like REM music made there, REM albums there. I think there was a Pearl Jam record made there. It just looked gorgeous. And this was kind of the swinging 80s when he was in there, 80s into the 90s, of just real wild excess and money being blown on
a lot of money
on these records. And so they like, of course, yeah, we'll put the band up in this home studio, and they could live and work here and record all day and party in New Orleans all night and just make a record for 3 months or whatever that would take to do it. But it looked gorgeous. And the fly on the wall stories that he has, I know he couldn't share all of them publicly, but he got into the Houdini house stuff a little bit, I think, with like the Rick Rubin house that he bought that they made Blood Sugar Sex Magic at. I don't know if did you ever see that documentary, the Hot Chili Peppers one?
Oh yeah,
them making Blood Hot.
I saw it at the time.
Okay, yeah. So the fact that that Rick Rubin bought that house and just has it wired for sound at all times, and no one actually lives there. It's just a studio. Who was telling me about it? Tebow I just ran into him the other day. He was saying he was hanging out there when Mars Volta was making a record there. And he said he would go over there because they were there for so long. And he was friends with John Theodore, the drummer. Yeah. And he would go over and just make breakfast because they had a chef on call like 24/7. There was just an incredible, gourmet chef on call that was living in the house also while the band was living there making the record. So any food you wanted at any time, the Tiba said he would go and just start his days. He'd drive by there and get like an incredible like home cooked breakfast. Just say hi. The band wasn't even up yet, but he would just run by and like, hey, can I get some, all this, can I get some eggs and bacon and some fluffy omelets and things? And like, okay, cool. And he would say, if somebody walk around, grab a cup of coffee, and then he'd be like, okay, good to see you guys. And then he'd leave.
Atiba's amazing. Well, that dude is like a force to reckon with. I don't know how I know as a photographer, right? I mean, there's probably something. Yeah. Dude. But he's been around forever he was the youngest, like the young photographer that you just saw his name everywhere before the editing and stuff, just the photos. And you'd notice his name, obviously, because you're like, what kind of name is Atiba? Like, this is crazy.
Growing up in the 90s, looking at skate magazines, and then you saw the credit. Oh my
God!
Yeah, some of the greatest photos too. It like stood out.
But then he's involved with everything. I feel like everything. Like you'd see LeBron James, and there's like Atiba is next to him. Like what? Yeah. Like
he became the team,
Lakers.
The team photographer for the Lakers. Yeah,
it's amazing.
How does that happen?
But then he was shooting for the like NBA magazine, and then became the editor. Slam. Him and his brother both, right? Were the editors of.
I don't know. I mean, Akko's
one of the skateboard mag, I think.
Oh, maybe.
I think a little bit.
Yeah, that was
they took it over, I think. but then he's involved with like Odd Future, and he's involved with music, and he's involved with Turnstile. He's
Sure.
like, they're like, like, how are you involved with everything? It's
But
amazing.
it's
and
it's
his
legitimate,
photography is,
and it's a passion. Yeah.
oh, 1,000%. And
Yeah.
he's a Canon. He not reps for Canon, but he's like a Canon ambassador
Endorsed
for their new cameras. And I mean, it's just there. I don't think like there's anybody that has a space in photography that he has carved out for himself at all.
He created
There's nobody
that didn't exist
like
before.
him at all.
Yeah.
No, it does, and it will never exist again, because there's no, like, he's hit this amount, like this place of like amazing mid to late 90s photography, skateboarding, and he's gotten all the way to now and still is as cool, as
one of the
relevant,
nicest people,
and feels like he's just as the same age. Like he doesn't age, I don't think. You look at him, you're like, how, I don't even know how you could be 55. You could also be like 35 and be like, oh, I started when I was 8. You can't tell. And you see he's friends, like, not even that he's friends with everyone. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
And you see him in every great skate video part. The camera rolls over and they're like, well, there's the T-Base, just like in the
jump on this.
photos of it.
I mean, he made his own music
it's
video
amazing.
where he gets a star in it. Yeah. I just
my
ran
God,
into
he's
him
amazing.
at
Anyway.
I saw Lifeguard play at Zebulon this last week. And it was
right.
they had rescheduled a show that they had, I think Kai had gotten COVID last fall when they were on their tour and supposed to play in LA, and so had to reschedule their show, all these months later. So it was fun to see them, but awesome. The day before the show, they'd flown in a day early, and Atiba shot a bunch of photos of them for NME. And so it was funny. I was standing there watching them play, and then the Atiba walks up in front of me, is just shooting with a digital point and shoot. And I'm just looking over his shoulder too. And I'm just like, how do those photos, because I see the photo he gets like pop up on my mind. I was thinking, like, it's dark. This is a venue. Like, I hold my phone up and my things looks like, some wash of colors and blurs and everything, but he's got the point and shoot figured out. Here, I see the picture pop back up. I'm like, those look like 80s, like rock photos. Like, what I mean? It's just like all the colors are correct. Everything's in focus. It's flat. It has this compression of whatever the correct lens you would do to make a photo look cool and old. And like, it's just a point and shoot, just a digital point. And I'm watching him do that for probably like a minute in front of me. And then we turns around, we start talking, and it was just funny. It was great, to catch up. I was like, I wanted to watch him just shoot for a minute. I'm like, how is he going to get anything good here? And I'm like, oh, of course he is. He just got all of those photos look great. And it's a point and shoot, and he knows what he's doing. Again, it's that knowledge, those 10,000 hours, where your equipment is, but I'm sure he could take my phone and take that same photo on my phone. So he would just know what to do. Like, oh, we got to do this. He just understands the equipment better, where I'm just still, with that stuff, like, hold on. Those
10 million hours.
Yeah. Well,
I even saw him at that 99 cent store show.
Oh, fun. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. He was walking around there, and I'm like, of course you are. Amazing. So good.
Yeah. But yeah, getting back to Phillip. Yeah. It was great to catch up with him. I mean, we met him a bunch of years back, and he was offering to help with, we did that record, Snares Like a Haircut, with Pete Lyman, I ran into Pete when I remember it was Thanksgiving, like right on Thanksgiving 2017 probably. And I was buying a tofurkey at the local Sprouts. And he lived in the neighborhood, not too far from us, and we bumped into each other, literally, at the supermarket. And I was like, yeah, we just signed to Drag City, and we're trying to make a record, but we don't have a lot of money. I don't know. And he's like, oh, I can do it cheap. Like, it's like, I don't have the big studio, but I have Pete has a great mastering suite. And then he had one he was renting out next door that I think it was Mike Sinclair was using. And he's this incredible producer, mixer person as well. And so he'd been tracking Weezer in this just kind of like mixing suite. Like, it was like big enough that you could get a full size drum kit in there. And then you had an isolation area for cabinets. And then vocals, you don't need a ton of room to do. So Mike Sinclair's little brother, or younger brother, like engineered all the drums, and Pete, sort of produced it and made sure it was tracking and getting everything together. And it was really fun. So we recorded it in a really small room. But then when it came time to mix, then I took it back to the No Age sort of HQ studios we had at Gaucho's. And then I added a bunch of guitars. And I think Dean did all of his drums and vocals in like 2 days. at the infrasonic, just kind of mixing room. And that was just really beautiful. It was this like $200,000 Sony microphone. I remember they were just saying like, this is the craziest microphone ever.
God.
We're like, sure, of course we'll use that. And then I just tracked all of my stuff with, SM57s, just little point, little guitar microphones. And we made that record Snares Like a Haircut, all kind of doing it that way. But when it came time to mix it, we were trying to figure out how to, now we didn't want to make the mistake. We did the album before An Object. We did most of it ourselves with Kundo down at Gaucho's. And I did not know how to mix at all. And so it was great taking it to Phillips. And then I watched over his shoulder, and he showed me tips and tricks and ways of just understanding Pro Tools and ways to sort of like build a mix and what to look for in a mix and how to really, marry the tracks to where you have this interplay between tracks the way you would have it on tape. The idea being that like, most of the records we grew up listening to, they're not necessarily recorded well. You know what I mean? Like what digital does, like probably in the same with like digital photography, is like it captures a full spectrum of sound or a full spectrum of light on everything it does. But that's not what film does, or that's not what tape does. Like tape lets all of those frequencies interact together. And if one frequency is louder than the others, it'll duck down other stuff. Or if there are two things are in the same frequency, one's going to get buried underneath, and it's going to do this kind of more analog, organic sort of like thing in sounds. If you have a loud kick drum and a bass, and if the kick drum is louder than the bass guitar, every time you hit that bass drum, the bass guitar is going to like duck down, because it literally like it's in the same frequency. Okay. So you have this kind of like pumping bass and like, boom, boom, boom. But maybe the bass player just recorded like a single line, but you put the kick over it and boom, 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 boom. It gives you this pumping thing.
Got the same space on
sure.
the tape. But
this is something that you could, depending how you define terms like this, that's a mistake. It's not what was intended. It's not what, people tracked, but it was an artifact of recording on a piece of magnetic, plastic. You get this plastic, you magnetize it, and then you can hit it you run it past a polarizing filter, a polarizing head, and that's a recording head. And then it aligns all of the particles in one way for certain frequency. It does what tape does, And so the idea of then going to Pro Tools, where it's like, no, you have everything and nothing's touching anything else, and they're all separate and they're all clean and nice, and you have all of these frequencies. And it's like, yeah, but it sounds like shit. And you're like, well, it doesn't sound the way old stuff
We don't
did.
want that.
Well, what I mean? So him just kind of showing me about high pass and low pass filters. You just like tape doesn't have all of this room on the end of it. It's kind of darker, and also doesn't have all the room on the very low end. And so you're going to, just roll all that stuff off. Now we're in like tape production frequency ranges. And you do that to everything, or you put that at the end, and you can kind of start to build this picture of a digitally recorded track. Or even if it was recorded to tape and then you dump it into digital, it's going to do different properties. It's going to do different things. So to kind of like work within the parameters of that. And then also just setting up a good Pro Tools session that has, like where do you put the plugins, and how do you want the plugins to affect, building auxes and building sends and building things that kind of allow the tracks to touch each other, and sort of you want to take away some of those. You want to keep some of the borders between sounds, and some you just want to like try to erase as much as possible and get the sounds all mixing in with each other and affecting each other as much as you can. Cause then there is the organic sort of nature of what a song does, or what, how we're used to hearing things reproduced from tape that we all grew up recording. And then, the little things like that. There was a million things over and over again that he just had little,
I love it,
jewels of wisdom for that. And it really allowed me to kind of evolve my thinking of recording and mixing and sort of what you're looking for a track to do. And when, cause it's those questions too, like, how do you know this is a good recording? How do you know when this is a good there's something about it. I just like that song. Yeah. I just like what it sounds good. Yeah. But then you spend enough time with it, and you have somebody break it down and what works and what doesn't work, and you can start to build that ear to hear like, oh yeah, that's kind of ringy, or that's kind of woofy, or that's kind of got a thing there that doesn't need to be there. You could scoop certain frequencies out and you embed things. I think that's always love, after making that record, it was all about like embedding, getting the sounds to like squish together in a way. It felt good. So that was a big takeaway,
Yeah, I think it's awesome, especially if you are doing something else and you're watching someone do something that a little bit about, but
Not enough,
you know, and you're like,
to
you
really
could watch,
talk about it.
you could watch
Yeah.
YouTube videos all day or whatever, but until you're sitting right next to someone actually doing it. And this comes back to us fixing our own cars.
Right.
That until you are sitting there and you're trying to do something like, why are you using that tool? You're like, what? I always use this tool. There's a tool for that. You're supposed to use this other tool. And you're like, oh my God, this changes my whole life. But I think that it's so important. It's so amazing to sit down with people like that. Like I've struggled at editing. I've done some editing, but I've also struggled at it. And the
video
second
editing,
that I sit, video editing, and I've sat with someone who's like a great editor and has like an amazing piece, you know, and they're just going through and they're editing, and you're like, yeah, you're just putting stuff together, and they're going like one frame at a time. Like, well, look, the eyes are looking that way. I got to wait till the eyes are looking right past the camera.
Boom.
And you're like, oh, and then they do that and like, yeah, let's try the second take. Okay, Liz, we're going to do that again. No, you know, and you're going, oh, these are decisions that have taken like years and years and years and years of practice seeing, to where like you're seeing stuff that I would never even like, don't even know exists.
Right.
And like you're like honing in on these little tiny details. And I can feel that obviously with photography. Like I can look at something and go, oh, it's too green. But I remember for years, like never being able to do that. And then going in, and I used to have to print things in an actual darkroom, like, and it was a color darkroom. And I sat with a woman who was in the darkroom place, the business, and you'd bring it to her and she's like, you want to try it? And I'm like, no, I can't tell. It looks great. And she's like, +5 cyan, -1 magenta. And then
boom.
She's like, go print that and then bring it back and look at them side by side. And I did that. I used to help my old boss print for, I don't know, maybe 5 months. And we were printing his portfolio. And by the end of it, I could sit there and get pretty close. But it was like
amazing.
You're watching someone do these things until your eye and your brain locks in on these little details that you go, no, this is my thing. Like, this is how I like things to look, or how I like things to sound. And I wanted to ask though, what is, and I know DAT is digital audio tape, but what is the difference of DAT to, what is it in between of because I know it was there before Pro Tools, maybe. You have Pro Tools and then you have tape recording. What's the difference? Like where does DAT fit in there?
So you know, in those whatever it was, mid to late 90s and even into the early 2000s, hard drive space, you remember, was expensive, and hard drives weren't particularly fast, and they weren't particularly like reliable. And so I think the DAT tapes, digital audio tapes, were basically hard drives, because they would just store the audio. And so if you wanted to call it, because now we would just use a hard drive. You'd use whatever, you know, fast, you know, solid state or spinning, you know, lacies or whatever, you know, you would use to record something, and then all the files go on that, and you can recall it back from that. But there was not really the hard drive. The hard drive solutions weren't really made for that at that point. They weren't big enough or fast enough to recall information. So you would put the digital. You would have some kind of digital audio workstation, right? A DAW, DAW. And that would, you know, then you would spit out the recording to the DAT, the digital audio tape. So it's all sort of set up, you know, from an analog sort of world, even as they awkwardly, in the awkward adolescence of going to a fully digital workstation.
But it's digital information just being stored on the DAT. It's not music being stored on. That's
a good question.
In the sense
it
that
is music, I guess. In that
there's not a machine.
Yeah, I should look it up. I honestly never had a DAT player.
But with tape, when you're recording to tape, it's legitimately like making a magnetic version of the song, and as you play the tape over and over and over again, it can actually like degrade it, because the actual music is on the tape, where the DAT is maybe storing data, and it's taking that data and putting it back on your digital workstation.
So
I was curious because I was like, I kind of Go for it.
Oh, no, I was going to say my good friends at
ChatGPT?
the Google AI overview are letting me know that digital audio tape players are specialized devices developed by Sony in 1987 for recording and playback high quality audio on 4mm magnetic tape. They offer studio grade uncompressed 16-bit 44.1 or 48K, similar to CDs, often using helical scan technology. While many a legacy format popular. While mainly a legacy, oh my God, my eyes, popular in the 90s, they are used today for archiving as vintage AD converters. So you could still convert stuff now. But
so maybe the music is actually on the tape.
So yeah, there's something, but you have to have a proper reader to read it off. That you couldn't put it in a cassette player, and they look different too.
Right.
That was it when my mom. My mom and dad bought me a 4-track that uses cassette tapes, like regular, like music cassette tapes that came with a box of DAT tapes. And it confused me for months. I'm like, how does this fit? What do I do? But I think this was our old Guitar Center salesman trick. Oh yeah, you're going to need to buy the chamois cloth. You got to get the fret dressing glue and lube. He doesn't have any guitar lube. Oh, you need the guitar lube. That switch, that 5-way selector switch on that Squier you're buying, that $99 Squier guitar. Yeah, that's got to get lubed up at least once or twice a week. It'll sound a lot better if he does that.
Fret spray.
Nut juice. You know, nut juice. You can put that up on the nut.
Fret spray.
Yeah. You gotta have all that stuff. And you're buying
the guitar balanced.
Yeah.
Is it balanced? You need a guitar balancer.
You're buying a 4-track cassette player. Yeah, you definitely need buy this $40 box of DAT tapes too. Yeah, you'll need that. So I never had a DAT player.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, somewhere in between there. But yeah, I mean, I think that was how a lot of stuff was done. Apparently, from the late 80s all throughout the 90s probably up until those early aughts when hard drives kind of became, we're the hard drive generation when they got smaller and faster and cheaper.
Oh my God.
I mean, and that sort of changed everything in terms of living on screens and home recording and home photo editing, home, sort of technology. If we didn't have these 4 terabyte things you could buy for under, $200, because you need
crazy.
So much to have high def editing capability at home was just absurd. Those were things that were, you had to have laboratories for that stuff with an air cooled.
Well, I mean, I remember
server.
Well, the first time I used Photoshop and photo, like my last year of photo, the in college, which would have been 97, my professor had put together a whole thing to do a digital photo class, but they wouldn't do it. They're like, no, this isn't going to be, because it was like art. It was an art program kind of
flash in the pan.
Well, what if it's considered like kind of graphic design? So like, okay, so then they could do that. And then, so they got all these computers that had Photoshop. And so it was quote unquote photography. Oh no, it was actually the color photography had a digital component to it. So we still had to do color photography, but then what we did is we had to then scan the negative in and then work on it in Photoshop. So it was like, that's the way that they did their thing. But that it was Photoshop. I think I've looked into it. It was like the 2nd generation or maybe the 3rd. And they had just come out with, if you did something, you could reverse steps once. So you could reverse one step. Yeah. And,
this feels like a video game now. Like, okay, be careful what you do. You can only go back one generation.
One step. Yeah. And so then, but they had these computers that had 1 gigabyte of memory. Whoa. And that was like,
it was huge.
Like, whoa, this is a whole gigabyte. Like, this is crazy. And then by the time, 4 years later, then it was the big deal that it was $1 per gig.
Oh, right.
So if you got like 100 gig, 100 gig hard drive, it was $100.
Whoa!
And that was just like, we are getting 100 gigs for $1. And now you can get a little card to go in your camera that's 128 gigs for like 30.
Oh yeah, that's nothing.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, we lived through that, and that I think that's a big component, a big building block to all that home digital work that people do now.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. I have a Yeah, I mean, there's so many more stories about Phillip, but yeah, I love all the Rick Rubin stuff, but it's great working with him. I really appreciated all of his knowledge and work, and it was one of those things I've always wanted to work with him more. But it was sort of one of the things where it's like, just finding the scheduling and the time and the money and all this stuff. You know what I mean? You always hope when you work with people, you hire somebody for a project, like, okay, onwards and upwards. But we ran face first into the fan blades of the COVID epidemic for the next record we did.
Right.
What was it called? Goons Be Gone. We sort of started working on this record and then just nothing. So like, oh wait, this was not the record we thought we were gonna get Sneezy on and spend all this money and hire friends.
You guys
again.
were done.
Like,
you guys were done with it, right?
It was close. Yeah. But again, it was
close. You're like,
yeah, it was one of those things we knew. But we could, for so many reasons, the money wasn't there to make that record. And so we're like, all right, Phil, well, we're going to always wanted to work with him again, but he's great. He's out there. He's hireable. And everyone should go find him, phillipbroussardjr.com. If you want to hire him to make an awesome record. He's got a lot of great stories and a lot of knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
I have a new segment I was thinking of. I want to put more segments in this show. Do you think our show can handle it?
Is it Slayer? I liked your Slayer question right at the end.
Why is Rain in Blood the best Slayer record? Why did they never make a record that sounded? What's your take on that? I mean, Rain in Blood stands out, I think, as one of the best classic metal records ever. But how is it the same players? The same. Everyone still existed. Why did the follow up not sound as good? Was it Rick Rubin?
I think that there's just timing. I think it's like
Andy Wallace?
I think all of those stars have to align, but for everything, like all the people have to be in the right mindset, and there has to be like like I feel like there's certain, like on a much smaller scale, where there's been months of my life where like a project is happening or whatever, and you're going like, oh wait, how is this happening? Like, how did this person and this person and like, and you just, then you go up that by like 1 million, and that's like Slayer or Led Zeppelin or, or something where you're like, I don't know how this happened. I don't know if anybody can know, and it'll never happen again. Although God Hates Us All is a pretty amazing record as well.
But
it's not Rain and Blood.
I know Rain and Blood just really stands up there. Yeah, I was trying to look. I was like, why? So I feel like it's one of those things. I fight myself because I'm not a huge metal person. I didn't grow up really with metal. I was more punk and weirdo, experimental, college-y, sort of post-punky sort of things. It just happened to be what I was exposed to at that time. I didn't have a particular Big Brother metal introduction. Yeah. So I discovered these records. They was like jewels. I'm like, oh my God, I have no context for this, but it just sounds incredible. So I always feel like, am I a Slayer fan or am I a Rain and Blood fan? You know what I mean? Where I feel like if I were to go see Slayer and everything that wasn't Rain and Blood, I'd be like, I don't know what this is. Like, I'm obviously
you're a Rain and Blood fan.
I'm a fair weather fan. I can't say I celebrate the whole catalog, which I would like to be able to say I did. But I mean, I had the opportunity to go see Kerry King solo somewhere, and it was just like, I don't think I'm going to do it. Nah, I'm going to sit it out.
I saw Slayer once at the amphitheater up in, what is it, at the Universal Amphitheater.
Oh yeah.
And it was awesome. But as someone who's like a big fan of Rain and Blood and, God Hates Us All and a couple other songs.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, the first 8 songs, amazing. And then the last 8 songs sounded like the first 8 songs.
It's sad.
And the video, they played the same like war video, kind of like destruction, just repeated the whole time. And the best part, I mean, it was great. It was great. It was amazing. It was super fun. But the second best part, we're just walking into the show before the show started, and every 5 seconds, someone yelling Slayer, but on the walk in, from the parking lot all the way to our seats, and then in the seats, like before, like an hour before the show, 30 minutes before the show, it was just every 5 seconds someone was yelling Slayer, and then everyone would cheer, and it's the most rabid, amazing fan base ever. I think you could just yell the name of the band. Like, no one's yelling Led Zeppelin and the whole crowd erupts. Everyone's like, who's the Led Zeppelin? Who's the guy yelling Led Zeppelin? But Slayer it might be the only band that you could just yell the name out and most people will like just put their hands up in the air, like right on. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I loved seeing they had the stickers like employees must carve Slayer into their arms before returning to work. Did you ever see this? Like in bathrooms, it was like employees must wash hands before returning to work. Employees must carve Slayer into their arms.
Well, Jeremy has an amazing photo of someone with Slayer carved into their back at a Slayer show. Yeah, amazing.
This I think this is maybe this segment can be sponsored by Rain and Blood. Maybe that's what we can do. We can have this segment. I will go through album by album, and we can talk about Slayer album by album. We'll go through the whole discography instead of looking at movies. Like we'd pick a random movie and forget to talk about it. Let's try to go through the Slayer discography, and that will be the lead in to this recurring segment idea I have, which is the Randy Randall obituary. So I've had a Google. I'm not proud to say this, but I created a Google alert for my name back when No Age was doing a lot of stuff, and they were like, I want to see if my name pops up in anything. You want to know if if something happens. If I had Google alerts for No Age or for Randy Randall, things came up like, oh wow, somebody wrote a good review, or oh wow, this came up. The Google alert, I don't know if it's a thing, if this is a thing of the past. If you've never set up a Google alert for your own name, it's pretty humbling. There was a time when people wrote about it and then it stops. You're like, oh, okay, no one's writing about me. That's fine. No. But what I do get is whenever there's anybody named Randy or Randall shortened to Randy, I will get their obituaries. So about once a week, I receive an update of somebody who has died, who's being referenced in the article or the obituary as Randy Randall. So today's Randy Randall, this week's Randy Randall obituary comes from William
Randy Randall.
Well, William Randy Randall Collins. Has passed away this week. He was 65 of Pittsburgh. He went to his heavenly home on Wednesday, March 18th, 2006 at UNC Hospital Hillsborough Campus Hospice, surrounded by loved ones. So adios, William Randy Randall Collins. They got a great picture of him. You can send flowers in lieu of anything. But the whole thing there.
Gone too soon.
He's got a great picture of him playing football in the 70s here. So I've been getting these for years, and I really feel like I don't know what to do with this information. I always kind of go, oh, this is sad.
Have you been saving them?
I mean, I think they're all in my Google.
Archive?
They're all in my emails. I don't really delete them from the email, so I'm sure I could go back over the years. I mean, I imagine I will just continue to get them, but as I get them, we can present them sponsored by Slayer's discography and read out an obituary of your own name.
What would the best Slayer song be to play for this person?
I mean, if you want to set up a Google account for yourself, and then any funny obituaries come up, please forward them to me, or you can send them to hyphenate@gmail.com. Send us your someone with your namesake's obituary that you get as a Google result. There's something shocking about it when you read it. I'll check my mail in the morning as I'm going pee or brush my teeth or eating cereal, and you're like, oh god, you see your name with obituary like this. Randy Randall has died on this day. He's remembered by his.
You're like, this doesn't say Sunland, does it?
It's very Beetlejuice. Hold on. This is how I find out.
Tennessee.
There's also a minister, or what is he? Some kind of city council of New Mexico named Randy Randall. He does some kind of cultural attaché in New Mexico, whose name is Randy Randall. I'll receive updates whenever he says anything to the news. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. Seems like okay guy. I haven't quite gotten a handle on what he does. Are there other Aaron Farleys out there?
Oh yeah, there was someone who was like a professional. Well, there's another photographer / assistant in Los Angeles.
Oh no, that's
with my same name.
Yeah.
That every once in a while I would get someone who sends me like an Instagram story and like, oh man, this is hilarious, and I'm like, it's gotta be. There's no.
You're looking for the wrong guy.
This to me. I don't need. But I never say anything. I used to get email. Used to get weird emails for people about photo stuff, and I'm like, I think this is the wrong Aaron Farley. But luckily, I have AaronFarley.com, so
that helps.
But it helps. But I have a cousin who's named Aaron Farley. That's my uncle, named exactly same spelling and everything.
That's good.
So I actually used to get calls from my uncle thinking he was calling my cousin.
Well, that's hilarious.
He's like, hey, bud, how's it going? And I'm like, No, wrong one. Wrong
The other
one. And he's like,
other Aaron.
right. Well,
Yeah.
how's it going?
Anyway,
He texts me all the time, like family, like, hey, the family's meeting up. And I'm like,
not this far out of the family.
Wrong one.
It's a little closer.
But then there was someone else who was like a big college basketball player or football player or something for a while. And I was like, don't go pro. Come on. Don't go pro.
Don't do it. I can't afford this in my life.
And then,
well, yeah, this has been interesting because Phillip Broussard, is somebody else. There's another person named Phillip Broussard. So when I was posting stuff in the show notes for this episode, but then I realized that must be why Phillip Broussard Jr. goes by Junior, just to help differentiate his name and kind of carve himself out there. But I mean, my dad was also Randy Randall. So I'm the second Randy. We had different middle names. He was Randy Lee Randall, and I'm the Randy Stephen Randall. Yes, but we had different middle names, and then we always went by Big Randy and Little Randy. But I was by 15, I was taller than my dad, so he was Big Randy and I was Little Randy. But it became like almost like a joke, like a Smokey and the Bandit kind of joke, like Big Enos and Little Enos. I was taller, so people would call the house and be like, "Oh, can I talk to Randy?" I'm like, which one, big or little? And they're like, I guess little. Like, okay, Little Randy. I was Little Randy for a lot within my family for a long time. Little Randy. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I was Little Aaron for a while because our family friends had an Aaron who was 1 year older. So I was Little Aaron for a while. It was very funny. It's
great. It's those kind of things that, put you right back in being a kid. But I've also been doing some subbing, and I mispronounce kids' names, subbing for high school or middle school, elementary school, more so than the middle school thing, which we may be able to understand. But I mispronounce kids' names every day. It's that Key and Peele sketch. Aaron. It's all of it. I just say I'm not good at it. I haven't figured out a good spiel. I imagine if I continue to do this for much longer, I'll have to come up with something, a preamble to explain. Here's what I'm about to do. I'm going to butcher your name and we're all going to laugh at it. And then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it. And then there's the two names, and some of the kids know, they just know the order that it's always called out in, and they know they're the first Alejandro and they're the second Alejandro, or I'm Alex. This is Alexa. This, you can kind of see how it all works. But they used to always ask if you had a nickname or wanted to be called something different when we were kids. I remember. I don't know if people still do that. Like, oh, you call me RJ, or
they write that in Aries now.
In Aries,
right? It's actually in.
In the thing. Yeah, I'm papered. I'm LAUSD.
Oh, you're only paper. Oh, okay. That's they don't give you a login. You don't get a login.
One that I've understood. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I could be doing it terribly.
A lot of times they'll write it, but then you'll say that name and you're like, I don't go by that name. That's what my mom calls me. And I'm like, oh, well, so wait, which one?
Bring that up with your mom.
Call me this. I'm like, that's your middle name.
In my mind, I know I'm not going to remember any of these names too. And it's the kind of thing too. You see people, and you see even like parents of kids, friends. Like I know so many kids' names because my kids talk about these other kids, and I just know that's that person's dad. I see him at pickup all the time or at drop off. I'm just like, don't know your name. We've talked to you. I've probably talked to you more than I've talked to some of my relatives in the last 5 years, 10 years. And I have no idea what your name is. And it's just got me thinking more about the existential sort of idea of like names really are this construct. We really are strange little collections of stardust and just people, meat bodies walking around the world who are unique unto ourselves. And my meat skeleton recognizes your meat skeleton. We know each other. But then as soon as you got to put a name to you, like, why are we don't bring names into this? We really don't need names. We're just weird lizards. Like lizards don't have names for each other. Just be the person you are. But once you got to get someone's name, or they feel bad, you don't remember the name, or they call you the wrong name, or you call them the wrong name. Yeah. It activates some other kind of like ego, mental, gymnastics. It ties us up. I think I'm all for eliminating names.
It stresses me out.
As someone named Randy Randall and all the I think I've just built a callus around the name idea. Like I've thought more about it, and people ask about it. I inevitably have a conversation once a week for my entire life. I've had to talk about.
Wait, is that
Randall Randall? Like, do you know your name's funny? Like and it just becomes, I just have this thick pad of skin around names to the point now where I'm not offended by it at all, but I'm almost more numb and inert to the whole idea of it. I question the whole like social construct. And I also feel like in the time of digital media and digital social media, that the name, we've realized we've run out of room, that having a name, a biblical name, a normal name, a community name, whatever, you have to create this screen name for yourself with numbers and letters and things. Like, we are now this global community, and we've just really I think expanded this whole idea of identity past any point of like, well, you're Randy Randall. Like, I don't think I am. I don't think anybody is their name.
Yeah. I definitely knew people by their instant messenger name only for a long time.
My wife and I still have conversations about people. We call them, oh yeah, of course. But we call people by their Instagram screen names. We're like, oh, did you see what so-and-so posted today? We're like, yeah. But what is their name? Who are they? How do you, we're like, oh, you see me friends. A friend they used to go out with this friend of yours, and then they moved, and but their Instagram's hilarious. And you're like, I don't remember their name. Yeah. But I still follow them on Instagram.
The best one is great. Speaking of, the best one is when the band name goes really well with the name. So like our friend Scott used to be in a band called Snake versus Wizard. So he was Scott versus Wizard.
It's perfect.
Scott versus Wizard always, because there were multiple Scotts, and you're like, of
course,
I don't know, that's Scott versus Wizard. But then Sippy also was just Chris, right?
Yeah.
And Chris is Sippy. And I feel like, and we've talked about this before, that name was created on our radio show when we had that he was Chris Sippy, because it wasn't Sippy yet, it was Chris Sippy. And then
just shortened it from there.
He just became Sippy. And now everybody just calls him Sippy. Like, a lot of people don't even know his name is Chris.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
And Sippy is the perfect name
for him. Yeah.
It's perfect.
But I think we talked about this. I mean, I met him within like the first week, within the first like 4 days of him moving to LA. I met him.
Me too.
So there we go. So he was definitely not a Sippy then. It was I think he had a very active social life as soon as he was off the bus. And
man, he's that guy. He's another guy that everybody loves, Sippy, and he's an amazing person, and has hooked so many people up and has done so many amazing things. So
all right. Well, we've got to reach out to him. We got to have the Sippy appreciation podcast.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Totally. All right, everybody, set up Google alerts for your name. Send them to hyphenate halftime at gmail.com. I want to see obituaries.
Don't get depressed.
For people that are not you. If you're, I think we should celebrate ego death. I think we should really celebrate in this time.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Okay. Where let's really all enjoy, like, really separating ourselves from whatever we feel our ego tells us we are. I think running headfirst into humiliating circumstances. There was a good quote from Austin Butler, of all people, who I don't know much about, but he said something like everything. He was relaying advice that someone had given him before he became a star, and he said the line was, "Everything you want is just beyond embarrassment. Like, don't be afraid of embarrassment. Don't be afraid to embarrass yourself, because everything you want to accomplish in life is past that point." So you have to run all the way past, the line where you feel like, oh, if I do this, I might get embarrassed, or I might make a fool of myself. This might be cringe. Then I guess it's not so much for our generation, but for our kids' generation, this cringe idea. But for that thing, it's like everything is past that. Like, if there's something you want to do, don't let the line of embarrassment, or people might laugh at me, or people might think I'm funny, be the thing that's the barrier, the invisible barrier in your mind that stops you. You got to run past that and go straight for the thing, because any self-consciousness you have is only a construct in your own mind. So it's up to you. You can tear that down. You can destroy. You can do anything you want. That's my big.
Let's end with that. That's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Go forth, destroy your ego, have fun this week, do whatever you want to do, because you're the only person stopping you.